Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Melanin Margin, the weekly chat show where conversations about race are never off the table. We're your hosts, Quaviondre Williams.
And Daquon Wilson.
So let's get into this week's conversation. What's hot on the table this week?
In an article written by Logan Plant on IGN Logo, we learned that sources have told Variety that some Warner Bros. Discovery executives are still willing to work with the actor Ezra Miller, even after all the legal issues the actor has been facing since June of last year. They had been accused of throwing a chair at a woman, grooming minors, and other misconduct. They were also charged with felony burglary in Vermont. Then in August, Miller apologized for their behavior, saying they were struggling from, quote, complex mental health issues, end quotes. The apology tour continued as Miller reportedly met with WB Discovery executives to save the Flash movie. Miller pleaded not guilty to the charges, and the next hearing for the case will be on January 13th. According to the report, the fact that Miller has stayed out of trouble since they began mental health treatment last summer has reopened the door to Miller appearing as the Flash again in the future. So, Andre, I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on Warner Brothers deciding to move forward with Ezra Miller despite their legal issues?
I think that after this decision, I don't want to hear shit else about Will Smith's Oscar slap. Like, I don't want to see nary of a
Period.
think piece, no motherfucking white critics saying that Will Smith needs to be punished any further, blackballed, or so on, because this shit,
Hello.
Daquon, this shit with Ezra, I cannot even begin to explain how upset this makes me. Like, this is a prime example of how LGBTQIA plus white people may be oppressed by their sexuality, but still reap the benefits of white supremacy. I've said it once, I'll say it twice, I'll say it as many times as I need to in order to get this shit to stick. But mental illnesses, say it with me, explain. They do not excuse your actions. Now, I won't claim to know what Ezra Miller's complex mental issues are, and I won't claim that they didn't have any effect on their actions because I don't know. What I will say is that in so many situations where famous white people are doing some seriously fucked up shit, their representatives and their teams always seem to throw out mental issues as the end all be all excuse. Now, many of them have weaponized mental health issues as a scapegoat, and I'm sick of it. Like, not only does it make it incredibly hard to differentiate people who are actually struggling with mental health issues from the people who want to escape the justified consequences of their actions by claiming that they were only racist, sexist, homophobic, etc., because they were struggling with mental health. But it also perpetuates this dangerous idea that the sole reason why someone does the wrong thing is because they have a mental disorder. And that's not always the case. We talked about this plenty of times before on the podcast too. Like, some people do bad things because they want to. Some people are just assholes because they can be. Some people are just bigots because they are choosing not to be better. I don't know how many fucking times we have to say this shit, but y'all just not, it's not clicking, Stephen. But back to WB and Ezra Miller. I think that while Miller may have been struggling with mental health issues, there are still consequences to your fucking actions. And from what I've seen as of date, they have not received many, and they were forgiven fairly easily. Like, even if WB didn't want to lose money from the shoots they have done for the Flash film, the fact that Ezra is not only allowed to continue filming, but they've also opened the door for Miller to return as the Flash in future films, it is not the tea whatsoever. Like, what's really getting me is that there still hasn't been any sort of retribution outside of Miller's apology. It was just then, I'm sorry, I promise I won't do it again. I had complex mental issues. And WB said, alrighty then, you're good to go. Way to go, sport. Like, this shit is just not sitting right with my spirit. But Daquon, I'll pass it back to you, bitch. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, now it's always hot on the, because, where do I even start with this? Like, I'll start here. Complex mental health issues are not solved in a matter of months. In fact, mental health issues aren't something you can necessarily solve all the time. You can treat it. You can, do things to diminish the impact these mental health issues have on your everyday life. But I feel like in this situation, we are expecting so much change out of Ezra Miller in a matter of months. I'm not saying they haven't improved. They probably have shown some sort of improvement. They've stayed out of trouble, X, Y, and Z. But I think that we aren't really having the mental health concern that we think we are. In this situation, I think this would be a perfect opportunity for Ezra Miller to step out of the spotlight for a while, and deal with their mental health issues. Because, it's a situation where, yes, whatever you're doing is working now. But when you go back to filming, when you're having to do tours for different press shoots for this movie, all of this and that, you can get extremely busy and you might not have the same time to, go to therapy or whatever treatment plan Ezra Miller is on. So if I was an executive, I'd be like, you know what? I see that you're making progress. I want to respect that progress and give you more time to deal with this rather than subjecting you to even more stress that comes with being an actor, touring, doing press shoots, all of these different things. Like, that stress,
Comic-Cons, shit like that.
Those things. Exactly. So it's one of these situations where it's not giving. It's like, even if you're like, we sunk a lot of money into this, having to shoot everything, just do the right thing. It's not that hard.
And, because the Melanin Margin and race is never off the table, had Ezra Miller been black, bitch, WB would have dropped that movie so fucking fast, deleted the footage, issued a statement, and hired a whole new Flash actor within about 2 weeks, maybe a month. Like, if Ezra Miller was black, we would not be having this conversation at all. Like, if the Will Smith or the Jussie Smollett situation has taught us anything, it's that the public will sever ties and turn on black people without question or concern the moment we fuck up. I mean, look at how quickly everyone dropped Jussie Smollett before he was found guilty and how carefully the situation with Ezra Miller has been handled. And Miller hasn't even gone to court yet or received a fucking verdict. Like, I'm not here to argue whether Jussie or Will Smith should or shouldn't have been dealt with in the way that they were. But if we compare the nature of what those two did versus what Ezra Miller has done, Miller should have gotten way fucking worse than a slap on the wrist. But Daquon, like, do you think that WB, decided too fast on inviting Ezra Miller back, considering that their court date is still pending? Like,
absolutely. Like, the court still has to make a decision. Like, y'all
jumping the gun real fast.
Too fast. And to go back to what you're saying before, if Ezra Miller was black, they'd be up under the courthouse. They'd be 6 feet under. They wouldn't even get a chance to be the Flash again. Like, they would be gone away for a long time because we see all these times, you know, with Will Smith getting banned from the Oscars or
10
Jesse
years.
Smollett case, like when Black people commit crimes or do certain things that are seen as bad, it's like throw the whole book. We talked about this time.
Throw the whole person away. Just
throw the whole person away. We're throwing just gone, done, real cancellation. But in a situation like this, like, are we ignoring these allegations of, you know, assaulting a woman with a chair, grooming minors? Like, that's not some, oh, you're going through some mental health thing, so I understand. No, no. Even if you were, like, I think we need to say it again. I know we said it this episode, but mental health issues explain, but do not excuse. This is not an excuse for any of these things because they are inexcusable acts. So I think that, you know, race does play a large part in this. Like, you know, there's even in situations of like gun violence in this country, everybody talks about like Black on Black crime and, you know, Black gang members and gun violence and this and that. And then you have like a white mass shooter or white school shooter. And it's like, they were such a good kid. They were bullied.
They were
They
depressed.
had complex mental health issues going on. And it's like, okay, Susan, we get it. Like, let's talk about what's really happening in this situation.
Or even better than that, realizing too that oftentimes they said the people who are, you know, bullied and stuff like that are usually more likely to hurt themselves than they are the people. Like somebody said, I think you might have seen this TikTok too, Daquon, but like this lady was like, bullied kids don't shoot up schools, bullies do. And I was like,
oh,
right? Right, like not to say that of course there aren't some people who do, but it's just like for the most part, it's like when you were breaking it down, it's like, oh, they were like da-da-da, they were bullied X, Y, and Z. And then people talk about why they were bullied, and it was because they were racist as fuck or homophobic or trans or all the X, Y, and Z, like transphobic or da-da-da or whatever, or they were just like horrible fucking people, and people like, I don't want to talk to you. Don't like come near me because you are nasty as fuck as a person. So it's like it's just this weird kind of narrative that, like you said too, we always want to humanize white people when they make mistakes. We want to humanize white people when they really do some egregious ass shit. But when Black people do it, it's like, oh hell no, throw the whole person away, throw the whole, you ain't never working again.
Slapping somebody. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I was traumatized.
Bitch, take several seats,
please.